me ya ya hey yo hey. Another session, Yahoo, it is easy, Yahweh, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, Yahoo, hey, ya, hey, ya, him, hey, ya, hey, Yahoo, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, Yahoo, hey, ya, hey, Yahoo, hey, ya, hey, him, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey. Hey ya ya hey ya oh me ya hey oh hey ya ya hey me ya oh me ya hey hey ya 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 oh me ya ya oh me ya 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 oh me oh me ya hey ya 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 oh me ya ya hey ya hey ya home hey ya hey ya home hey ya ya hey ya ya hey ya home hey ya ya hey ya home hey ya hey ya home hey ya ya hey hey ya hey ya ya hey ya home hey ya ya home hey ya ya home hey me ya home hey ya hey ya home me ya home hey hey ya hey me ya home hey ya home hey ya hey ya hey yo me ya him hey ya home hey ya hey me ya hey hey ya ya hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya home hey ya him hey ya 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 home hey ya ya oh hey hey ya 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 home hey yo hey hey ya hey ya home hey ya home hey ya 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 home hey yo hey ya hey ya ya home hey ya ya home hey ya ya hey ya home hey ya hey ya ya home hey ya ya home hey yo hey hey ya ya hey me ya home hey ya home hey yo hey ya him it is easy home hey ya home hey ya home hey ya home I'm sitting here in the plastic fumes nein das ist nicht gut das ist nicht gut nein 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 hey hey ya hey ya home hey ya home hey ya home let's go back into the next session ya home hey ya home hey ya home hey ya home hey yo hey hey ya home hey ya hey yo hey ya thank you God for this next session ya ja, hom. Und so schreie ich in meiner Bude rum, so spät hier in der Nacht, ja, hey, ja, ja, hey. Yes, I have my brother Austin and the applications of the meta programs. For each client, I am immediately processing his need structure. Based on that, I am immediately perceiving the values that I am utilizing for psychological leverage. I am utilizing the inverse of the values for psychological leverage. I am utilizing the rules for psychological leverage. I am utilizing the inverse of his rules for psychological leverage. I am immediately perceiving my client's global beliefs and am utilizing them for psychological leverage. Emphasizing how the inverse of his identity is conflicting with these global beliefs. I am utilizing his global beliefs in showing how only the desired behavior is in alignment with the global beliefs and how the undesired behavior and part of himself is not in alignment with it. I immediately perceive the psychological map of my client whenever I interact with him. His needs, his global beliefs, his identity, his value system, his rule structure, the inverse of his values, and what rules the inverse of his values he must never violate in order to never meet the inverse of his values and other away from values that would lead him to become the inverse of his identity and his undesired identity. For each client, I am immediately perceiving his most painful pattern, that is obstructing him meeting his needs, meeting his values, or meeting his away from values. The most painful pattern in which these is the biggest value provision. For Gary Breaker, that was changing a behavior, resolving a protection/protective pattern by letting this part of him speak, let the positive intent be heard. And also helping him to briefly express what is unexpressed inside of himself. He did not explain and explore where the model of Gary's world came from. For Gary Roger, he was changing a behavior pattern, changing a limiting belief /self-sabotage/limiting neuroassociation. For Prema, it was giving her relief by acknowledging her concerns, justifying her failures, encouraging her dreams, and justifying her insecurities / allaying her insecurities. He uncovered her model of the world. It could have been also, that the need structure needed to be shifted, like in the case of Vanessa, or that her habitual fuel of choice was keeping her from what she wanted, but that wasn't the case. He uncovered why she hated what she described as hating to do without making her wrong. For Brad, it was seeing things from his wife's point of view, Sometimes what gives the most value is clarifying some of the patterns and dynamics which give the value of clarity and understanding, like with Preet and Kevin. The value of my intervention is resolving the most challenging pattern that either keeps them from meeting their needs, keeps him from meeting his values, keeps him from meeting his rules, blocks energy flow or energetic expression, that compels him to perform unhealthy or unwanted behaviors to balance out certain energies. Getting clarity about the most painful pattern that obstructs energy flow or keeps him from meeting his needs. Meeting. Value can be in justifying his failures. Value in encouraging his dreams. Value in solidifying his vehicles. Value in giving him a fast, certain and easy strategy to meet his value. Value to give him a certain fast and easy strategy to meet his rules. Making his current strategies easier by giving it more energy supply and cutting energy being drained into the wrong actions and directions. I am utilizing AI agents to brainstorm strategies that are new to replace the old. Like for Vanessa, beliefs and strategies that buttress helpful beliefs and that help her meet her needs in a better way. That buttress helpful beliefs and that help her meet her needs in a better way. Buttress. Is that not a word, buttress? Even Google recognizes that. Sales. I am a wealthy man. I understand my clients' buying patterns well. I know exactly how to sell to my clients. I am aware of my 5 commitments to sales mastery. I am aware of the 5 questions that my client is asking himself continuously. I know what I would do differently in the products that I wanted but didn't buy. I am amplifying the hurt and showcasing the need. I am making my client aware of the need. I am showing and telling the inverse of his need, like who he does not want to be. I am showing and telling how he will be able to avoid who he doesn't want to be in terms of his away from values. I am selling my client's identity. I am hard closing at all times. I am leading through questions. I am building rapport. I am keeping myself in a high vibe positive state and keep my client in a high vibe positive state. I make my client feel special and important as well as happy. I am making my client feel relieved by justifying his failures. I am making my client waking my client up to his reality of what he could have had but doesn't. Every sale is an impulse purchase, and I am building up the sales presentation to the point where my client has the emotional impulse to buy based on all that I have been telling him and the lever is moving the boulder. I always apply the principle of money. I sell the need and make the prospect perceive, number one, the need, and number two, the emotional intensity of this need. The value that I am bringing to my client: feeling good, changing his evaluations and feeling good about himself, feeling relief due to having his failures justified, feeling relief due to having his fears allayed, feeling motivated and uplifted to the point where he is motivated to change. The polarities that I live, the clarity of speech provide massive value to my client, making him feel a feeling of closure, of finally understanding things he didn't understand before, taking away his confusions and confounding one thing with another. Healing his pains. Helping him overcome his misperceptions. Helping him overcome his misconceptions. Aha experiences of finally knowing what is happening inside of him. I am finding a deep want or need in my client. A need that he already has based on the inverse of his values. I am finding a deep want or need in my client. A need that he has already have based on the inverse of his values. Already has. The inverse of his vehicles, his villains that obstruct him getting to where he wants to go. Because everybody has certain theories when they blame outside events. So instead of resolving these obstacles, which would lead him to feel the truth that he just made this up, I just changed the vehicle altogether to ensure that he sees the solution and is excited about leaving the vehicle and the old unwanted desire identity behind forever. I always sell to the need of the client. I am finding his need based on his values, that he is not getting, and the associated behaviors and thought patterns that come with it. The need can be found in the inverse of his values, his away from values that he absolutely wants to avoid. The needs are wants for people. Not every want is a need unless I make it so. I am always portraying how this is going to show up in his real life circumstances. Yes, I have perfect clarity about the psychological structure that I perceive in every client of mine. Once I have identified the most painful and most challenging pattern, I know exactly what pressure and leverage to apply. Once I have identified the most painful and most challenging pattern, I know exactly what pressure and leverage to apply. I utilize my client's global belief system for psychological leverage. I utilize my client's identity for psychological leverage. I utilize my client's value system as psychological leverage. I utilize my client's rules as psychological leverage. I utilize my client's vehicles as psychological leverage. I showcase my client how these benefits are going to show up in his real life circumstances, how this is going to look to him, sound to him, and feel to him, and the associated thought patterns, feelings, and behavior patterns that come with it. All I need to do right now is to pay attention to this psychological structure with every client, elicit that with good, pinpointed, targeted, and directed questions. I utilize my client's psychological markup in order to sell him my coaching opportunity. I utilize his global beliefs psychological leverage by showing how he is already aligning with the positive intention of these global beliefs and how to split this belief and separate it from the other intention. I am utilizing my client's value system for psychological leverage and show and tell him how he will get to his towards values and avoid his away from values. What are my client's needs and wants after all? Question mark. Yes, I have perfect clarity about my client's needs and wants. I have perfect clarity about my client's energetic blockages, imbalances, and most painful patterns that provide the most value. In what my client is deprived most of, there's the greatest opportunity for value creation found. My client's needs are his deprived needs, significance, starving for recognition, happiness, inner peace, feeling okay with himself even when he is alone, resolving what he believes, is getting in the way of him getting to his values. Resolving that which he believes is getting in the way of staying consistent with his rules. Resolving that which he believes and perceives is getting in the way of his vehicles. Resolving that which he believes and perceives is threatening his vehicles. Resolving that which he believes and perceives is threatening his values. Resolving that which he believes and perceives is threatening his capacity, his capability to get to his values. Resolving that which he perceives is threatening his identity and the perception thereof. March 18th. Yes, I am a wealthy man. Yes, I'm finding the answers in my journal. I know exactly to depict my prospects and clients' needs. Outcome. Painting him a real life scenario of how this is going to look like, sound like, and feel like when he changes or takes advantage of my coaching right now that absolutely meets his deepest needs. The clarity on the decision-making hardware is going to come naturally during the course of this week. Yes, I am finding in my journal the answers with more practice. I am a master of effectively showing and telling him how his real and deep needs will be met when he takes advantage of changing or coaching right now, dash, based on his needs for psychological leverage. I find the answers in my journal how to weave in the real thought and behavior patterns and what else I would need to pull out of ChatGPT like fears, insecurities, etc. in order to speak to these pains and convince my client to take this decision. Yes, I know exactly how to persuade my prospect to take action now, to change his life and get into my coaching opportunity. I am selling my client based on his needs. My client has 6 human needs that when they are frustrated, he has a high motivation to meet those and get his needs met. Yes, I have perfect clarity about my client's vehicles and what he does to meet his needs. I have perfect clarity about my client villains and what is keeping him from having his needs met. This comes with specific thought and behavior patterns associated to it. I have perfect clarity about my client's values, and yes, I'm utilizing my client's values for psychological leverage. I show and tell how my client will get what he wants and needs and the associated thought and behavior patterns that come with it. I show and tell my client away from values how he will be perceived and the associated thought and behavior patterns that come with it. I show and tell my client how he will meet his ideal identity and prevent his unwanted identity from actualizing. I show and tell my client how his needs are being met through the vehicles that he wants to experience it through and the associated thought, feeling, and behavior patterns that come with it. My client has wants and needs. His wants are needs when he is just feeling the hurt enough. Stirring up the hurt. What he doesn't have but would like to have? What he thinks he should have but doesn't? How he must not be? What he has already irretrievably lost in the past, the past being an anchor for hurt. What he is losing out on now based on what he did or didn't do in the past. My client's needs are found in his deepest frustrations. The needs that he is starving to meet through the filter of values or wordings, how he most often perceives it or languages it to himself. My client's needs are to avoid pain. There is a survival instinct because pain equals damage equals death. His needs are found in resolving that which he perceives is getting in the way of getting his vehicle's values met. He needs a solution that resolves his villains. He needs a solution that meets his needs. His wants are a reflection of a deeper need connected to a psychological wound. Yes, I know exactly who people's needs are. My client has 6 human needs that when they are frustrated cause him the pain of a feeling of lack out of the wound. The self-judgment that comes from utilizing vehicles that are subpar. The frustration that comes from his current efforts. The scorn, frowning upon him, etc. by other people in his life. The limiting, triggering thought patterns. The pain of living with this lie inside. The pain of feeling like you've got your hands tied. My prospect has wounds that emotionally resemble, as he imagines having, using, or owning it, the feeling he would like to have. Somebody who looks to purchase a Rolex watch has the desire to be perceived a certain way, but wouldn't admit it. He wants to receive what he needs without asking for it, without having to ask for it. Wound. He has the need for self-acceptance because he starves for the feeling of self-acceptance because he's deprived of it because he so rarely feels it. That sounds like me. Listo el pedido, Yahweh, let's go and eat. 35 minutitos, yeah, let's go forward. How many sessions did we have for that? An hour and a half. Yeah, so that's about, no, 2 hours. Yeah, that's about 20 to 30 hours, the whole thing. It's fine, I guess, right? A week or two of cranking the booklet through. It's so fun and so easy. I wouldn't want to do anything else but concerning myself with my own content.